Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'll be going over the scrap mechanic shape charge. In mechanics, this is quite drastically different from a real life shape charge, but the principle is exactly the same. Before I look into this in more detail, I'll first give an example. I'm sure any of us that have played Minecraft before have stacked a bunch of mobs in a small space. Chickens, cows, you name it. After getting a lot of them all stacked together, we'll like bump them or something and they'll all go flying off in a direction. Well, as I've demonstrated here, the exact same thing happens in scrap mechanic, and in fact this happens in a lot of video games. It's been used in the past, glitch welding a bunch of bombs together and then releasing them in this way to inflict a lot of damage. But as far as I'm aware, I was the first real person to come up with this kind of housing and release chamber to actually focus the damage in a particular direction reliably. To go over the components here, there's the actual bombs. Surprisingly, more isn't always better, as the lag produced by these can very quickly scale. There's only about 18 here, and the boxes behind it, there's only between like 4 and 6. The reason why there are these boxes is so that there's the collision pressure between the bombs themselves when they're released that would make them want to fly apart in equal directions that way and that way. But there's also these boxes here which help account for that. So nearly all of the collision pressure energy will direct the bombs in that direction. The reason why there's this mass here is to help the bombs have something to push against, since the moment these are detached, there's an enormous amount of force between them. To give an example, it's pretty reliable. There can be fluctuations from time to time. This is just a good example of that. Not that often, but it is pretty often for a bomb to go behind the shape charge. This is just a compromise with mass. You can still see here that it still cuts pretty deep, and it has a main area of effect. Every now and then, a stray bomb will go extra far, which is why you can see something like that over there. The nice thing about these weapons in scrap mechanic is they nearly completely bypass ricochet armor and just normal blast protection armor. Since like the very next tick from when those bombs are released, there's one here, there's one here, there's one here, there's one here. You get the idea. In the very next tick, there's just a line of explosions all happening. Again, this bypasses ricochet armor and most is blast resistant armor. But a problem is bombs aren't all that lightweight. They're very heavy. This goes with their volume. So these types of very compact weapons are very hard to make use of in cannons. Only extremely powerful spud gun cannons with, say, a number of 2,000 or so can fire these, and those are more so for testing purposes. So the only real application these have is for something like bunker busting. If there's a extremely heavily armored target, like a fortress or a very slow tank, the only things that can really use these effectively would be like a bomber type aircraft that can get to the target, deploy it, and then quickly get out. Again, the same principle as a real life shape charge, just a jet or beam of molten metal, or in this case explosives. The actual mechanics behind it may be pretty different. In this game, it's taking advantage of collision pressure. In real life, it's an explosive lens. And that'll be all.